But the good thing is, I don't have to thank anybody. I can just talk about Dan. So, when I first met Dan, he was a misfit. Bit of a lovable oaf. He hung out with a class of other misfits. Always struggled to get out of bed in the morning. Prone to outbursts of random singing. Couldn't be on time if he tried, contractor. And fancy girls way too pretty for him. Clearly the man's grown up well. Of course, I was always moved to be asked to be, a best man. Along with the other misfits, yeah. What with maid of honour and, head bridesmaid being taken, it was quite an honour, really. But, it does ruin the chances of one bumping off Abby and taking their place, really take this bromance to that next level. Really helps. Sorry, babe. I'll never forget the day he asked to be part of a special day with him, though. The little trembling lip, the quiver in his voice, the general way he, turned a little bit pale and queasy. All I asked was simply, who are the other fellas I'd have to do this with? And as he gently said to me, please don't stitch me up too bad. You guys know far too much about me. Which brings me on to the next bit.
The next 7 pages.
In a 1 of 3-part eulogy. No, as I've known Danny the longest, 19 beautiful years. I've seen the good, the bad, and if anyone's seen Facebook this week, that pink bikini. It's rather fetching, you can Google it. Now, during that time, I built up some great memories of Dan. The ones that you'd share with family, the ones just for friends, and the ones he'd pay to forget. As most, our friendship was born of hatred, random things at school. Certain teachers, the way it was planned, certain people. But my favourite of which is French class. We're not that good at French. To this day, I believe that bonjour means, yes, please, walk around the classroom as many times as you can. What was the rate called, Dan?
40-something.
And unfortunately, I'm fairly convinced that au revoir means, yes, I'd love to be suplexed through a table. Of course, that one did result in the one time Dan hurt me, coming all the way to my house with 2 little bars of chocolate, because he felt rather guilty. When we weren't hanging out doing silly things in art and in French, the art block was our home, listening to far too much Metallica. But that, of course, was before his first great love, Tifa Lockhart. I'm looking to see who the gamers are in the room.
Tumbleweed.
Final Fantasy character.
That's nothing dodgy, by the way.
It was a bit of an obsession of Danny's with Final Fantasy. 7 through God knows what he's on now. But they moved on from that to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and then trying to actually be one himself. Falling off random objects and generally hurting himself. Thought he'd become a yo-yo expert, getting 4 of them banned in various classes. As apparently you're not supposed to do it when someone's talking. It was this time I started to take the older brother role really with Danny in this relationship, although his second love showed signs of breaking that up really, as he used to blare out Alanis Morissette at every available opportunity. But one of my most popular things with Danny was bailing him out of the old scrape and scramble. Who can ever forget Danny's go-to move in a fight? The reverse.
He's painted me as a road.
He's lovely. He's lovely. But I mean, when I met Lee, we had all these lovely parties we went to, and all these wonderful things. And I'll never forget the day Dan thought, you know what? It's okay to realise that actually, if you're that a little bit inebriated, you should just go and pee on a bush in the middle of the garden. Although he wondered why it was talking back to him at the time, it wasn't until weeks later he realised that she was in it. Peed on my wife, Danny, like I said. I love her below. I love her below. Now, clearly, illegitimate Big Brother moments coming in. My director was always steering right. As all good brothers do, right? Yeah. I warranted an invite to his mum and Phil's wedding. Although I wasn't aware that it was at a fire station. Needless to say, we were 15 at the time, and you weren't supposed to climb fire engines. Or stand on the bride's dress. Sorry, Wendy. But despite Dan leading me clearly astray, I can never forget... Stop it. I will never forget the times he's helped me out over the years. Improving my camping and barbecue skills by doing neither at his birthday party and sleeping in my tent. He's still the little spoon. But with only these things to remind us, Danny also came and helped me out at my first home. A proud moment. You're building your first house. He helped me repair many, many things I didn't realise needed demolishing at the time. Although a budding young artist as well, he decided to hone his skills, becoming a tattoo artist. Yeah. Once again, he saved me the need to go to a professional. My calf has never looked the same since. However, when he went off on his travels, having done this to me, he managed to come back to the UK just in time to see Daniel. Named after him, you know, just in time to see him. And he was rather sweet. Although he's still the only person I know to break into maximum security at Gloucester Royal on the way in. And then having to beg his way out. But this brings me to David Daniel's christening day. And it's a day I'll never, ever forget. And a beautiful... Don't you start smirking. A beautiful day. I got the first glimpse of the love we see before us now. When Dan, late arriving to the christening, which was okay, you know, as he wasn't the godfather this time round. Someone else had to bear that brunt, bless him. He was named after him, but he revealed that the reason he was late was because he'd met his first love the night before and got held up on the continuation of this to a random gorgeous lone lady, and he was already flustered and wasn't able to help out in the prelude to say christening. But he still made it there for the day. And for those old enough to remember, the way I like to remember Danny, the best for me, is he's always been the compo to my Cleggy.
Yeah.
And for those of us who aren't quite old enough to remember that one, you can never look at this man twice without thinking Ronald Weasley. Think about it. It takes a while. You're there going, yeah. Of course, using those two references does mean that Abby is somewhere between Nora Batty and Hermione Granger.
Hermione.
Just Hermione.
Just Hermione Granger.
Does that make me Ginny?
That makes you Ginny Weasley, yeah. Micro version. Well, I can honestly say that Annie Boy here, she managed to come into our lives and really instill that love she has for Danny with lovely sentences. One of the first two I ever heard being, "Oh, Danny, you're so rubbish." And "I'm so sorry, guys, I can't believe we did that." But I really felt a connection here. Abby's clearly going to bear the brunt of now, having inherited Danny. But he'll eat out of house and home. It'll let you get in places you never thought you should be anyway, by seeing something shiny off in the corner. However, you will never meet a more loyal, lovable oaf than this one. So before I have to hand over to this guy and finally shut up, the bride and groom.
Bride and groom. Thanks, Pete. My turn.
Your turn, love. I got the early years, you get the teenage ones.
Hi. 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 It's a lovely day, wasn't it? It was an amazing day. It was absolutely brilliant, and it was, yeah. I can't believe how nice this place is, because you normally mess everything up. I was gobsmacked coming in. I'm a bit of a bad friend as well. I'm a sort of second-hand, best man. Kind of, this is the first time I've seen it this morning as well. But what a fantastic day. Bride and groom look awesome. You guys all look amazing. So yeah, I just want to get that out of the way, I think. And now I'm going to start ripping you to shreds. So I first met Dan when I was about 16 or 17 years old, and I'd had a bit of a bad year myself. I'd just come to a new school and was trying to make new friends and sort of get myself into the groove. And he was one of the first people that kind of sort of came up to me with a huge grin on his face. Oh, hi, yeah, so do you, mate? And he was like, oh wow, okay, fine, that's brilliant. And yeah, that's one thing out of the way. And yeah, I hadn't met someone so positive and so sort of, friendly and welcoming. And for a guy who was, I wasn't at my highest peak at the time, it was a real boon to have like someone in your corner kind of backing you up, making you feel a bit better about yourself. So, he's a good guy for that. And I'm sure the reason why so many people here today, or at least half of you, I guess, is because this man is the way he is. And he's like that, which is it's a brilliant thing. When my mum first met Dan, this is brilliant. I only got this last night and it had to make its way in. This was so good. Her first recollection of Dan was he was so well looking. He was like really coiffured and had this long leather jacket, and I thought he was gay. But thanks, Mum. Thanks, Mum. His speech. She said congratulations, by the way, as does my dad. His speech dynamite. I was like, oh yes. Yes. Don't say that, don't say it. I won't say it, Mum. I won't say it. I'm going to say it. I remember that jacket. I'd forgotten about it. And I remember you're kind of, sort of Neo kind of going for. Blame him.
Actually, you don't get away with it because you're probably the bad influence because you were even worse. It's you cybergoths here. It was a bit of a strange thing, these guys in my life. But, hey-ho, it's all good. Yeah. About that sort of time in your early teens, that's when you start really experimenting with the wider world, isn't it? And getting into, things that maybe you shouldn't do before that time. And Dan was one of my disciples on those sort of forays into it. And, one night in particular, in an allotment that we shouldn't have been, Dan came up with the best sort of line that really summed up the kind of state we were in, where he particularly came in, mate, I feel like I'm inside my face. And then went like this. Hey, am I inside my face? You're all right, Dan, you're all right. I'm going to go over here for a bit. Yeah, you go over there for a bit. That didn't stop. That was the beginning. There was a time when we first festival I ever went to, Dan was there with a little speaker on your head. And you were that guy. You were that guy that no one wants to be with. No one wants to be with because just playing music at you. And it's just something he's kept for a few years, isn't it? Because he's basically, it's all, if everyone knows him, he's a music Nazi. Yeah. No one gets to play the tune they want to play. Dan has to play his tune first. Which segues into...
You've got the best taste, right?
Not now, it's my turn.
You imagine.
Music? Sorry, you broke my train of thought there.
He was about to sing you the song.
No, shh. Shutting you down now. You don't get to talk. Right. Music. Yeah, we were in a band. That was great as well. So teenagers, exploring being teenagers. Guys, you want to be in a band, don't you? Or you want to do something like that? That's cool. Like, so we made a band, and we were terrible. We were useless, but it was really good fun. And you know you've got a friend when he writes a song about your own member, don't you? You know? And you know you've got a friend when at the stag do, however many years later, he starts blaring it out in the Wetherspoons for the entirety of Carmarthen to hear. Cheers, mate. Thanks. No, I'm shutting you down now. No, not yet. Later. So a little bit later on, you know, we grow up, we go apart and everything. I go live in London for a little bit. I get back in touch. We always stayed in touch. This is one of the things. He's a very loyal friend. He's a lovely guy. He doesn't let his friends go. He keeps you together. But we started making music again after I got a little bit better at playing the guitar, and he kind of sort of got some of his creative juices flowing, and so we got together and we spent months and months and months playing in my parents' attic, trying to get better and better and better at these things. And you knew that he was in a relationship that he was quite committed to, whereas he would write a song about my member when we were a teenager. Now he's writing the soppiest stuff you've ever heard. It's quite difficult. You know, you're trying to keep this friendship going and everything like that, and you're playing this guitar, and then you've got your mate going, I love this girl. I love her so much it hurts. I love her. I love her. I love. You didn't quite say Abby, but you might as well have done. And then comes after all this time, we get together and play our first gig in over 10 years, and like we get together, and both of us are bricking it. Like we're not really having a good time, like that. We get up in front of about 10 people and Abby's parents as well. This is brilliant. And oh my god, we play this set. And we pretty much get through it, and I'm surprised with like the pair of us. Like we're actually doing all right, and then we finish. You finish your gig on your strongest song, right? And you finish your gig on the song that you know inside out, and it's going to be good, and you're going to finish well with. And then you get into the end line, the final refrain, it's all going well, and we set our piece, and then it's done and it's over, and we're gone. And Dan's like, yeah, and then forgets the lines to his own song at the end of this gig. And I was playing, I had my head down, didn't want to know, and sort of looked up, I was like, well, I can't believe you've done that, mate, but you did.
Too much Dutch courage.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's Dan for you, isn't it? You know. The only thing I want to round this up with, because it's going to be short and sharp, there's three of us, you know, so we can't keep you going for ages. But I remember the first time Dan told me about Abby. And I can't remember what we were doing, where we were going, or like that, but we were in a car, and Dan was very hungover, and we were driving along. He's like, I've met this girl, and I really like her. She's amazing, she's beautiful, and she's going and going and going and going and going, and he didn't stop. And you've got to believe him, Abby, like, he's not stopped. He keeps saying the most amazing things about you. And after I met Abby and spent some time with the guys together, you can see why. They're a beautiful couple, and you two are really good together. And that is a beautiful thing, isn't it not? So, you've caught a real softie. You really have. He's basically a human dog. So, to that, may I charge your glasses one more time? I'm going to get everyone drunk, aren't we, by the end of these speeches? The bride and groom! Bride and groom! Thank you.
No, mine's serious.
Those three best men, what did you think was going to happen?
No, it's very serious. Okay. We're here today to celebrate the marriage of Dan and Abby. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. You all look amazing. Except you, Jim McGregor, this isn't the Two Pigs.
No.
Jim, really?
I think it's actually Jim, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Speaking of the Two Pigs, the first time I was introduced to Dan was at that very establishment. He was at the bar dancing like a maniac. Anyone who has been out with Dan knows his signature dance. Arms and legs chopping into the air. just in his own world. From the moment I was introduced to him, I knew he was someone special. Dan is more than a friend. He is a brother I never had, a man of selfish compassion, genuine to his core and sincere in everything he does. He is beyond trustworthy and loyal and always has your back. Anyone who knows Dan is undoubtedly a better person for knowing him.
Yeah.
He is the anti-follower. He marches to the beat of his own drum, something that is very rare in people these days. We need more people like Dan in the world. I didn't know Abby before Dan I didn't know Abby before Dan and her met, and while it took some time to warm up to her, as I am with most people, she has become one of my best friends. Her soul is pure, she is kind and genuine, and I couldn't be happier that they are doing this today. I'd like everyone to stand up and raise their glasses to Dan and Abby.
Dan and Abby. Abby.
I think it goes without saying that we are all honoured here to celebrate the two of them today. May you grow together, dream together, and love together. And now I'm going to play a really awkward video. So.
Everyone can learn that way.